Hi friends, this is the 5th episode in the GIS series, and last time we had seen how digital can be geo-digital and what is the power of GIS in working with digital data. And today we are going to discuss how the remote sensing technology combined with the power of GIS can be utilized for land records updation and also for tax collection. And in this episode we try to explore how the combined power of remote sensing and GIS is utilized in updating the land records and also in effective tax collection. We know that these two things are combined, or these two things are joined ones, because the land records updation and the tax collection that are mingled together, or they are intertwined, we can say that, because the main revenue is coming for any government, let it be municipality, corporation or whatever it is, it has to come from the land revenue, and the land records assessment is a major task for all the governments, all LSGDs especially. So the tax collection is very much related or very much linked to the land records updation. So how remote sensing can be effectively utilized for that, how GIS can be utilized for that, that is what we will be seeing in this episode. Remote sensing, as we all know, it is the art or science of getting information about an object or an area without having physical contact with it. That is how we define remote sensing, and that is how we have been using remote sensing. And then why it is called as an eye from the sky, that is the adjective that we use, or that is the decorative term that we use to represent remote sensing. And why it is so? Because remote sensing provides a synoptic view of the whole earth, or the whole area that we see from the earth, see from the atmosphere, or see from above. So the synoptic coverage is one important thing that is making it different from all other technologies. Then the other one is the repetitive coverage that can be obtained by using the remote sensing technology. That is depending upon the temporal resolution of the satellite, that is how far or how often the satellite orbit around the earth. So depending upon that, we know that one satellite maybe it is seeing the whole earth for the whole day, that is the geosynchronous satellites that are seeing, that is in one day, that is the whole earth is seen from one side alone. And there are certain satellites which we call the polar satellites or the earth resource satellites. They will be visiting the same area on the earth on every 22nd day or on every fifth day, like that, depending upon the satellite and the purpose of its mission for which it has been launched. So the repetitive coverage is another important thing, or then another advantage of remote sensing. And the most important thing is that the mapping of inaccessible areas, because the land surveying, land mapping, that has been doing by manually for long, and there are certain areas, it may be the high terrains or the glaciated terrains or the forest areas, the inaccessible terrains or the inaccessible areas, they can be mapped easily by using remote sensing, because there is no hindrance, there is no checking of anything, because it is the whole view is obtained from above. So the mapping of inaccessible area is another important advantage of remote sensing. And then comes the capacity of remote sensing satellites, or the capacity of the remote sensing as a whole, that is recording in various energy levels, or which we call the different wavelengths. So depending upon the purpose of the mission, depending upon what for we are using the remote sensing data, we can use the different different wavelengths of energy, that is starting from the visible light, infrared, near infrared, mid infrared, and now we are using the microwaves also. So then we need not worry about what is the purpose, whether your purpose of the mission is for groundwater monitoring, groundwater level monitoring, or if it is for updating the land records as we are discussing here. So depending upon that, we can use whichever is the best wavelength, whichever is the best energy level. So depending upon that, we can use whatever is required, and depending upon our purpose of the mission, depending upon our purpose, we can use the different wavelengths, the appropriate wavelengths can be utilized. That is another important thing that makes the remote sensing a different technology. And then, as we have seen, that is there are various resolutions, that is like spectral, spatial, temporal and radiometric resolutions. So what do you mean by resolution? Resolution is nothing but when we say spectral resolution, that is up to what level we can see the object. See means how can we sense, we are using actually the sensors. So, how far the sensors can be utilized, what is the interval between the wavelengths, what is the, at what interval we can see the that is seeing in the sense, that is how can we sense the earth, how can we sense the object that is about which the information is collected. So, the wavelength interval is actually called the spectral resolution. How narrow we can see that, how narrowly we can see this particular object, that is using the spectral, that is called as spectral resolution. And then comes the spatial resolution, that is the size of the object, the minimum size of the object that can be viewed from above, that can be obtained, or the information can be obtained from by remote sensing, that is called the spatial resolution. So, it has come up to some 23 centimeter with ICONOS or QuickBird data, and our own Earth satellite, I mean our own Earth resource satellite, our own India satellites that are taking up to some 1 meter resolution, like that. So, that is actually the spatial resolution, that is on space how can we see, how far we are able to see the image, I mean see the objects. So, that is the spatial resolution. And the temporal resolution is nothing but that is the with respect to time, that is how often we are getting the information from about an area or about an object, that is called as temporal resolution. And radiometric resolution is nothing but that is depending upon the energy levels that can be distinguished, or that can be obtained, or that can be identified from an image. That is an image, we know that these are all made up of pixels, and from a pixel what are the energy levels, or how that pixel can be viewed, whether it can be viewed as 2 levels of energy, that is 0 and 1, or whether it is a 2-bit data, when we say it is, then there are 4 levels, like that, and we can go up to 256 or 512 levels. So, then we say the radiometric resolution is good, or radiometric resolution is fine, like that. So, these are the different resolutions that makes the remote sensing, the capacity of remote sensing, or the capability of remote sensing, again that is useful for different purposes. Another important aspect related to remote sensing is that the land use changes can be easily identified by using remote sensing technique. Land use changes means how far the area has been changed, the area has changed from a particular time. So, if we want the land use changes from 1990s onwards, so how do you want that, in what interval you want to study that. So, that is what we say in terms of remote sensing, the history of the area, how the land use has changed. So, that land use changes is very important as far as the land assessment is concerned, and for that the tax assessment, how far the land use is changed. So, for that remote sensing is another, remote sensing helps in a big way. And another thing is that the digital data that can be easily handled by GIS. So, the remote sensing data, we already know that remote sensing data is an important input for all kind of geographic information systems. So, GIS can easily handle the digital data that is generated by remote sensing. So, these are the things that makes remote sensing an important tool, or the remote sensing an important allied subject or allied discipline for GIS. Now, we will see what is how the land records and tax are important, or how they are interrelated. And we know that land and properties are considered as very important entities both by the citizen and the government. It is important as far as the government is concerned, and it is very important as far as the citizen is concerned. And for a citizen, the property is a very valuable personal asset, and a strong sense of ownership is associated with this. We know that each and everyone, how much I possess, how much is the land asset, how that is one person possess, that is very important. So, that gives him a strong sense of ownership. So, that is very much associated with that, and that has to be evaluated in a proper way. And when we consider the government, the property takes a center stage for governance. For the government, property takes a center stage for governance, because what is the area that is coming under a particular government. So, what type of energy, what type of tax can be attained from that particular land, by means of what, that is building tax or land tax itself. So, what much of land, what much of asset is associated with the particular government, that is also important for the governance as far as any particular government is concerned. Especially in the urban areas, which is growing rapidly, the information about properties is much needed for urban planning as well as for revenue generation. That is what we have seen in the previous case, that is how remote sensing helps, is because how rapidly the urban scenario or the urban landscape is changing. So, how many buildings are there within 1 year? So, what was the earlier situation there, how the land use was there before, whether it was a wetland or it was a wasteland. So, what type of change has happened, whether it was, is there any encroachment that has come in the government land. So, this kind of information that has to come. So, it is not possible in any time, that is every time it is not possible, that is to measure it manually, to record it, to be making a land survey, then recording it over the books and then taking a printout or scanning it into a computer and all. But when we use the remote sensing technology, easily in a single click we are getting all the information into the proper platforms. So, that is how, so the land records and tax are this way, that is they are very much connected. And for that reason only the proper assessment of land records is also important. So, the proper assessment of properties and efficient collection of tax, that is very vital for municipal corporations, because property tax is the primary source of income for these authorities. So, that is the main tax, the main revenue that is coming to the authorities as far as the municipal corporations are concerned. So, the proper assessment of properties and the efficient collection of tax, these two things are interrelated, and that is very essential and very important as far as a government is concerned. Then comes what type of reform is possible, in the property tax systems. So, and that is how it has come, that is what type of reform is possible and how it is necessary, why it is necessary. So, this was a mainstay as far as a major concern or a major concern of the government or a major plan of the government, which we consider, which we call as the JNN-URM, that is Jawaharlal Nehru National Urban Renewal Mission. So, it is the reform of the property tax system is one of the mandatory reforms under the JNN-URM. Why it is? Because this is the relationship, how the land records has to be evaluated, how the revenue can be increased, that is from the land records and all. So, the mandate under the JNN-URM emphasizes the need for implementation of online system for property tax through a proper mapping of properties using a GIS system. And this point is very important as far as the GIS is concerned, that is property tax through a proper mapping of properties. So, that is there, that is how that mapping can be done, and how far GIS will help in that mapping process and updating the data, and also at any point of time the updation can be there, and since it is digital it can be linked to any platform. So, that is one important thing as far as the application of geoinformatics or GIS is concerned. So, because of this that is as the mandate under the JNN-URM, this GIS has come, the GIS mapping has come as a mainstay. So, many municipalities have adopted GIS based property tax system. So, that has come, that is a development that is followed this JNN-URM, that is GIS based tax system to strengthen their revenues. So, that is an important thing that has happened, and there are many success stories that we will be discussing now. So, this is what makes the GIS and the remote sensing, and that is the role of GIS and remote sensing in this aspect. So, normally when we consider the updation as well as the revenue collection, the tax collection and the updation of the land records, there are many issues that is faced by the civic authorities. So, if you enumerate with that, you will see that the low rate of tax filing, that is the land records possessed by an individual or an enterprise, whatever it is. So, there will be a low rate of tax filing, that is the exact tax that has to be paid by the individual or the enterprises, whatever it is, this will be low. The exact tax is not filed by the persons concerned, and thereby high arrears are there. So, low rate of tax filing as well as high arrears are coming. Another thing is that improper assessment of property tax, that is another headache for the civic authorities. Then large number of unassessed properties, that is also there, that is a namesake tax may be collected and much of the properties are unassessed. Then comes another chance is that wrongly assessed properties, that is the exact tax that has to be paid by an individual or a corporate that may be wrongly assessed, so that the revenue that has to come to a government may be reduced drastically. So, that wrong assessment has to be corrected. Then comes the delay in preparing the list of defaulters, that is when the work is done manually. So, it will be difficult because it has to come from many columns and many tables from different books and all. So, the storage may be in different files. So, it has to come, and that will make a delay in preparing the list of defaulters. Then another chance is that, or another issue is that no uniform procedure of taxation, that is another major issue, no uniform procedure for taxation. Then property records maintained in papers, that is another major headache, that is there are chances that it may be damaged, it may be spoiled, that is intentionally or unintentionally the records may be lost. And then comes the tampering of records, that is a major crime actually. So that is happening, that is happened, and we have we have incidents in that way also. Then inaccurate and inconsistent data, that is also there. So these are the major issues that is faced by the civic authorities as far as the tax collection is concerned. Now comes the question, why GIS for property tax? How GIS can help in solving all these kind of issues, or is it possible to solve these issues that we have seen? So why GIS? So the answer is that one is efficiently administer property tax system. That is the first and foremost thing. GIS can efficiently administer property tax system, and GIS provides a standard toolbox for tax officers, assessors and bill collectors, and thereby ensures uniformity across jurisdiction. That is a single window system is maintained, or that is made. That is, it is giving a standard toolbox for because different people are involved. Tax officers who determine who decides what much of tax one person has to pay, what is the scale, what is the slab, like that. Then the assessors who do the field work, who goes to the field and who makes the inspection or whatever it is, and they say that is this much, this is the value of this particular property. So they are the assessors. And then maybe some other people may be going to collect the revenue, they are the bill collectors. So they are all working in different platform, or they are working at different dates, and then there needs a platform, a single platform is required. So the GIS will provide a uniformity across jurisdiction, because all these people, the tax officers, assessors and bill collectors, they can all work together, and the GIS will provide a single platform. How? That we will be seeing now. So another thing is access to property assessment and tax information in a timely, accurate and cost effective manner. So these points are important. That is, GIS provides access to property assessment and tax information in a timely, accurate and cost effective manner. How that can be done? So that we will see. Expandable to accommodate future changes in valuation, because how it is possible is there is a peculiar capacity or the capability of GIS that at any time we can edit the maps, at any time we can add or delete the records, or we can update the records, we can modify the records, because GIS itself is claimed, or GIS itself is defined like that. That is a system to update, to that is to classify, to analyze, and all, any kind of analysis can be done. So in future, how, what much revenue, what if there is a new building has come in a particular area, what is the plinth area of that building, how much tax has to be calculated. So you need not go even to the field. If you have a beautiful high resolution satellite image, you can sitting in the lab or sitting in the office, the tax assessor can sitting in the office itself, he can calculate what could be the tax that has to be levied from that particular person who has made that building in that particular corner of that city. So that is expandable to accommodate future changes in valuation. That is also an important aspect of GIS. Then comes the cadastral mapping with diverse technologies. So how this can be achieved, how GIS can be utilized is, one thing is that the cadastral level, the village level mapping with diverse technologies. Diverse technologies can be utilized, and then how it is possible, how that is done. So rather than using the conventional methods of going and doing the chain survey, we have, of course we cannot completely avoid that ground survey method, we can utilize that also, but we have a more powerful tool which is nothing but the satellite images. And then the aerial photos are also available, because in certain areas the satellite images will not be okay, because we may need still further high resolution images. So we can go for aerial photos, and now even the satellite images which are more clearer than the aerial photographs that has also come. Anyway, that is satellite images and aerial photography together with the ground survey methods, we can use the cadastral mapping. Then from the data sets thus generated, we can establish a GIS based web enabled land information systems, which can be utilized for revenue and land records departments and agencies that manage property records. That is, it is bringing the different stakeholders in a single platform. That is the revenue department, as we have seen, that is the officers, the assessors, the bill collectors, everybody, that they are all brought together. So the single platform that binds them all together is the GIS. So, the maps are there, the records are there, that are all linked together, and if you want to see that at any point of time on a single mouse click, on a point when we click, that will be elaborated, and if you want to add some photographs also, that can also be added. So, in that way the cadastral mapping with diverse technologies is the first step in doing or in applying the geoinformatics in tax collection and land records updation. Then what are the benefits? When we talk about the GIS based property ownership and all, what are the benefits of GIS based property ownership or cadastral records? One thing is that just as there is a unique identification for individuals, we have the Aadhaar number or whatever you call that, that is just like that, there should be for properties also there should be such an ID, a unique ID should be there, and this is permanent and a valuable asset. That is why that ID is required is that the land asset is a permanent one and it is a valuable asset. So, there is no wrong in that, that is giving a unique identification or an ID for that particular land asset. Then comes the proper documentation of land ownership will avoid the issues of fraud and duplicate ownership in property related transactions, because that ID is a must as far as the GIS analysis is concerned. So, just like that, if you have made that unique ID as far as a particular piece of land or a particular land parcel is concerned, so if you make that, so it is easy that nobody else is having that particular land ID associated with that particular person. So, that kind of the duplicate and the fraud ownership can be avoided forever, that can be done. This also greatly enhances the revenue for the government, since all properties are mapped and recorded, because what is the total area, whether the total area that comes up when you sum up the individual land holdings, whether the total area is achieved. So, that can be easily identified. So, what much percentage is the government land in that, so what much is the personal land. So, individuals how much is the tax that they have to pay. So, easily we can see that in the map itself, in the map as well as in tabular columns, or how do we want that. So, that is achieved. And then what are the other benefits? One thing is that tax defaulters can easily be identified, that is for sure, because what are all the land holdings associated with a particular person and what is the tax that he has paid. So, when you see that everything in a digital form, so you can easily identify who are all the tax defaulters and how much revenue has to come or how much has to be paid by he or she to the government. So, that can be easily identified, and this helps the government to detect encroachments on government land. That is another headache for all civic bodies, that is encroachment on government lands. And normally what happens is, as far as the government is concerned, if the proper records are not available with government departments, the persons will go for case and all, the court will decide whether it is right or wrong. So, ultimately it will take much amount of time, and the government may be losing the tax or the revenue that has to come to the government, or in vice versa also, maybe the person may be helpless in some cases. So, that is there, that is a different issue anyway, but once the unique ID is given to the particular land asset, so that can also be avoided. So, all of this information is managed in a digital database, and customized maps and software can be created to rapidly and accurately distribute this information to the public and government authorities. So, it is not necessary that everyone has to have that. That is some centers, that is in panchayats or villages, what are all the departments, or some public facilitation centers are there. So, in that one computer or this monitor will be okay, and in that some customized maps and digital database can be stored, and on a finger touch this data will be available. The map will be available as well as the entire data set will be available. So, there will not be any problem for any debate, or any problem will be there as far as the public or the government is concerned. So, that is only possible if we use the GIS database for this kind of land ownership. Then how it is being done? What is the process flow involved in making the land records as well as the tax collection digital, or by making use of GIS? The first thing is that we will be using high resolution satellite images. As far as India is concerned, we have beautiful satellite images and powerful satellite images procured by the ISRO satellites, and that are being distributed by the National Remote Sensing Center at Hyderabad, which is coming under the Department of Space. And we have our own satellites, Cartosat, ResourceSat and all. And if that is not enough, we have the Icono satellites or QuickBird satellite which have got very high resolution, say some 23 centimeter or less than that. So, that can be utilized for mapping of the areas, the urban areas especially. So, that is the first case, the mapping of the urban area that will be there. Then the second step is the ground control points are collected, that is how that, because we have some maps and that maps that can be rectified with collecting the ground control points, which are nothing but, or the ground control points are collected by using another thing, that is the differential GPS. The differential GPS or the DGPS survey is being carried out, and geo rectification of the already available cadastral maps are geo rectified. Then comes the digitization and attribution of features. So, a mapping, that is mapping alone will not be doing, that will not be done. So, the digitization and attribution of features can also be there, that is the next step. So, then comes the extensive field work that will include the ground truthing, because in a satellite image it may, if it is not clear, the ground truthing or field verification is very important, and that will be done, that is the next step. And the final stage, the updation for final GIS base map is done. So, the attributes are there, the image is made, or from the image the base map is collected and the field work is done, and from the field work the data is collected and that is attached, or that is being attached to the map that is being created. So, that is how in brief we can see the process flow involved in tax collection using GIS. This is the process flow that is involved. And now we will see some success stories that are involved, some success stories especially from India, that is how the LSGDs, the local self governments including corporations and municipalities, how they have succeeded in increasing their revenue by using the GIS technology in tax collection and data updation as far as the land holdings are concerned. And the first thing is from Bangalore Mahanagarapalike, or the Brihat Bangalore Mahanagarapalike, or BBMP, or it is also called as the Greater Bangalore Municipal Corporation. They have carried out an extensive work using this GIS, or bringing the GIS technology in property identification as well as this tax collection and all. So, as far as BBMP is concerned, tax collection reportedly touched Indian rupees of 1000 crore, as under the new system the authority was able to bring 6.29 lakh properties under the tax net. It is not a single, it is not so simple. We can see that 6.29 lakh properties, that much of properties, that is a number actually, that much properties under the tax net, that was possible because of adopting this technology. Then the GIS based property tax system covers the entire area under BBMP, that is the entire Bangalore Corporation is coming under the GIS based property tax and under its jurisdiction, and as a part of this system a unique property identification number, or which they call as the PID, property identification number, that has been provided to each property. So, that was the first step they have done. And the PID number is a combination of ward number, street number and plot number. So that there will not be any duplication. That is, the PID number that is allotted to the land holding, the land parcel, is a combination of ward number, street number and plot number. So, that will be unique. Then the system provides a uniform policy to the Bangalore Corporation to identify properties throughout its jurisdiction to levy tax. So, for the entire area they are utilizing, or they are using the same technology, the same platform, the same uniform policy is being adopted. And so, and then that is how the Bangalore Nagarapalike or the Bangalore Corporation has done. They have increased the revenue manifold by adopting this technology of GIS in land holdings and tax collection. And another success story is from the Greater Hyderabad Municipal Corporation, or the GHMC. They also deployed GIS to dig out unassessed properties in the city by allotting a unique property tax identification number. It is a slightly different number as far as the Bangalore one is concerned. There we use the PID, and here this is PTIN, which is nothing but again a unique number, which is the property tax identification number, or PTIN. To each property a PTIN is assigned. Then the PTIN number enables the Hyderabad Corporation to identify each and every parcel in the city to make correct property assessments. So, just by clicking on the number itself, to whom it belongs, what is the land use. So, what much is the area coming under that particular land holding. So, what was how it was before. So, whether it was a wetland or any kind of encroachment, whatever it is, that can be easily identified and the tax can be levied properly. So, here they have used a PTIN, again another unique identification number. And in both these cases, as far as Bangalore and Hyderabad is concerned, they have utilized almost the same methodology. So, it was like this: the satellite technology was used to measure the buildings, find out the nature of the usage of the building, type of construction, number of floors and other related details. That is why we have seen, that is how we have seen, that is how remote sensing is, what is the capability of remote sensing for that. High resolution satellite images can easily provide all these details. Then the second step was a manual door-to-door field survey, which was conducted after that, and the photos of individual properties were taken by the municipal inspectors. That is, suppose a particular building that is giving a very small tax at present. So, once they collect the information and also if they take the photograph also, it will be easily visible, it will be easily identifiable. The tax is very much below actually what should have been paid by that particular landowner or that particular building owner. So, this was how the manual door-to-door survey and the satellite technology was utilized. It was almost the same technology utilized by both Bangalore as well as Hyderabad municipal corporations. And then next step in that was, this data was then correlated with the data available with the municipal corporation. That is, now this is the updated data set and the already existing data set that is available with the municipal corporation. Then these two data sets were correlated, and that correlation was very easy because it was done in a GIS platform. So, it is no need of any manual work is involved, but GIS will do the analysis. What is the old number, what is the new number, and what is the tax actually should have been paid by this person and what is being paid now. So, that kind of analysis is easily done by using the GIS technology. And then the interesting thing is that 100% increase in revenue was reported in locations where GIS was used under this particular project. So, that is very interesting thing. 100% increase in revenue is not a simple thing as far as this kind of local self-governments are concerned. So, that is an important thing, and the properties which came under the tax net also doubled. Already the tax was being paid, that is of course, but the properties which came under the tax net also doubled. So, many defaulters were being caught then and there, and they have also been brought under the tax net. And then a slightly different story is there from East Delhi Municipal Corporation. So, they have done a slightly different methodology, but almost the result is almost the same. What they have done is, an aerial survey of the region has been conducted and satellite data has been used to create up-to-date maps. So, the first step is an aerial survey of the region has been conducted, because now not even aerial photographs are required, now even with drone cameras that is possible. Then the second step was a door-to-door field survey of individual properties has been conducted to classify properties as commercial, residential and educational, because in the photograph it is not easy to recognize that. So, or with the photographs we can go to the field, and then the people who was sent by the East Delhi Municipal Corporation, they did a door-to-door field survey. So, then they collected information about whether it is residential complexes or whether it is business or commercial complexes, like that. The nature of the buildings were collected by door-to-door survey. Then the authorities found huge discrepancy in their existing data, as several properties in the East Delhi region were not included in the civic records. That is, encroachments are there, or naturally which should have come naturally into the government records, that they have not yet come. So, definitely they should not have been paid any tax. So, this had resulted heavy evasion of property tax and licensing. So, that was identified by utilizing this technology by East Delhi Municipal Corporation. And almost the same result is there from Bhopal Municipal Corporation or the BMC. They also conducted GIS based system, and that facilitated management of property tax online. They went a step further, they made it online. So, the new GIS was the governance project, the e-governance project of the BMC. They named it as the new GIS, and so the project of the BMC that enabled users to pay water charges and property tax through one bill. unlike the present situation where one has to pay water charges and property tax separately to the corporation. So, it has made online, and it has been made a single window system. So, that was done by the BMC. And then the next stage, BMC officials they could identify, they realized that GIS will provide a unique property code for all the commercial and residential units in Bhopal, based on which one bill will be prepared for one code. That is, that will be an easy step for the person is concerned, because otherwise they have to go to the electricity, pay the electricity bill, they have to go to the revenue, they have to go to the water authority, like that, whatever be the authority which are concerned. So, the person has to go into different offices, but once the ID code, the ID that is concerned, or the ID that is connected to a particular land hold is given to that particular ID. So, the tax can easily be collected at a single point or online. So, that was done, and that is in the pipeline actually, that is yet to be done by the BMC or the Bhopal Municipal Corporation, and the code remains the same even in case of change in property ownership. That is again another advantage. If the ownership of that particular land holding is changed, but still the code will remain the same. The person can do the kind of the tax payment can be done online, because the code will remain the same. And another story is from the Kolkata Municipal Corporation, and they prepared a GIS enabled data set of the city. Then the second step was a door-to-door survey that was conducted to identify property ownership. Then the next step was a digital base map of the city was developed by the National Remote Sensing Center, and all this data was then combined to develop a GIS based database. So, here also, that is they prepared a GIS enabled database of the city by using the satellite image, then door to door survey, then collecting, then linking these two, that is we say the spatial data and attribute data. So, that was how the Kolkata Municipal Corporation did this project. And how now we will explore how the GIS can be utilized, how we can further the GIS for urban landscape. One thing is that urban planning is possible using digital data. Then second step is identifying and categorizing urban land use. That is, there is the success stories put forward by all these corporations that can be made, and that can be taken as a model, and that can be utilized by other land, that is LSGDs in the country. Then deriving property size and building density. Then planning road maintenance based on width and condition, because everything is mapped for the entire city. Then determining the slope of the terrain for storm water drains. That is, it is not only for a particular aspect, but for any kind of planning, the entire spatial map, once it is available, that can be utilized. And as far as an integrated GIS system is concerned, that is, we know that is the city, the urban landscape can easily utilize the entire, because the GIS, as we say, it is a system to collect any kind of data, including the spatial data. So, the ownership, the land records, the tax, the billing and collection of the taxes, then any kind of certificates that is required by the persons or the inhabitants of that particular city, they can utilize that. And so, it is an integrated GIS system. Once it is adopted by the LSGD or the municipal corporation, that will help in, and that is bringing all the taxes, and that will provide, and that is an integrated GIS system that will provide a good living for the citizens, as well as a very good revenue, very good increase in the revenue as far as the government or the LSGDs are concerned. So, this is how we can use the geoinformatics technology, and this is so now it is clear that there is when we use the eye from the sky, or what we call the remote sensing technology, it is very clear that will help in increasing the updation of land records, and also that will increase the inflow of revenue for the government. So, I think it is clear to you, that is how the remote sensing technology can be beautifully utilized in increasing the revenue. So, in the next episode we will see how that is how again the geoinformatics technology for another purpose. So, with that is for now. Thank you very much for watching.